Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room full of people, and instead of feeling excited to join the conversation, you found yourself quietly observing everyone, while everyone else rushed to fill every second with words? You noticed the pauses, you noticed the expressions people tried to hide. You noticed who was forcing a smile, who was pretending to listen, and who secretly wanted to leave. For years, society has told us that the most social people are the loudest ones, the people who can talk to anyone, the people who always have something to say. But what if that's completely wrong? What if real social intelligence has nothing to do with talking more, and everything to do with understanding more? Some of the most socially intelligent people in the world aren't the center of attention. They're the ones quietly reading the room before they say a single word. They know when to speak, when to stay silent, and when a single sentence can change an entire conversation. Here's the strange part. Many of these people spend their lives believing something is wrong with them. They think they're awkward, too quiet, too different, too hard to understand. But in reality, their brain is simply processing people on a much deeper level than most. And that changes everything. Today, we're going to uncover 5 surprising things that socially intelligent people naturally prefer over meaningless small talk. These habits might seem ordinary, but psychologists have found they reveal something much deeper about the way your mind understands human behavior. By the end of this video, you may discover that the things you've always considered your biggest social weakness are actually your greatest social strength. And trust me, the 5th sign surprises almost everyone, because it's something millions of people try to fix without realizing it's one of the strongest indicators of emotional and social intelligence. So don't skip ahead. Each sign builds on the last, and together they reveal a hidden pattern that most people never notice. Let's begin with something almost everyone has experienced, but very few people truly understand. Sign number 1. You prefer real conversations over filling silence. Imagine you're sitting with someone at a coffee shop. There are a few seconds of silence. Almost immediately, the other person starts talking. They comment on the weather. They mention traffic. They laugh awkwardly. Anything, just to avoid the silence. But you don't feel the need to rescue every quiet moment, and that's more powerful than most people realize. We've been taught that silence is uncomfortable, that if a conversation slows down, something must be wrong. But socially intelligent people understand something different. Silence isn't always emptiness. Sometimes, silence is information. A person who constantly fills every pause often misses what's happening beneath the words, because while they're thinking about what to say next, they're not paying attention to what the other person is actually feeling. The socially intelligent person notices the tiny details: a deep breath, a hesitant smile, a glance toward the floor, a change in someone's voice. These small signals often reveal more than 100 sentences ever could. Think about the people you trust the most. They're probably not the ones who talk non-stop. They're the ones who make you feel heard, the ones who don't interrupt, the ones who let you finish your thoughts without rushing to give advice. That's because real connection isn't built by speaking more. It's built by understanding more. Here's something interesting. When people know they don't have to perform every second of a conversation, they begin to relax. Their guard slowly comes down. They stop giving rehearsed answers, and they start revealing who they really are. That's when genuine conversations begin. Social intelligence isn't about winning conversations. It's about creating a space where honesty feels safe. And that takes confidence, because only confident people can sit comfortably in silence without feeling the need to prove themselves. If you've ever been called too quiet, it doesn't automatically mean you're socially awkward. It may simply mean you're observing instead of performing. You're listening instead of waiting for your turn to speak. You're collecting information that other people completely miss. And here's the twist. The people who talk the most often leave conversations remembering very little. The people who listen deeply remember almost everything. They remember names, dreams, fears, small details, and those details become the foundation of meaningful relationships. So if you'd rather have one authentic conversation than 10 shallow ones, don't mistake that for weakness. It may be one of the clearest signs that your social intelligence runs deeper than you think. But this next sign goes even further. Because socially intelligent people don't just pay attention to words. They become fascinated by something most people never even notice. And once you see it, you'll never look at conversations the same way again. Sign number 2. You watch people's actions more than their words. Have you ever met someone who said all the right things, but something still didn't feel right? They smiled. They complimented you. They promised they'd be there for you. Yet deep down, your instincts whispered, something doesn't match. Most people ignore that feeling. Socially intelligent people don't, because they understand one simple truth. Words tell you what people want you to believe. Actions reveal what they truly value. Think about it. Anyone can say they're loyal. Anyone can say they're honest. Anyone can promise they'll support you. But when life becomes inconvenient, that's when character speaks louder than language. Socially intelligent people don't rush to judge others. Instead, they quietly collect evidence. They notice who remembers your important moments, who only calls when they need something, who celebrates your success, and who suddenly becomes distant when you're doing well. These patterns aren't always obvious, that's why most people miss them. But people with high social intelligence naturally connect the dots. They don't focus on one dramatic moment. They watch for consistency, because consistency is difficult to fake. Imagine two friends. One always knows exactly what to say. They give inspiring advice. They make big promises. But when you truly need them, they're nowhere to be found. The other friend isn't very talkative. Sometimes they don't even know the perfect words. But when you're struggling, they're standing at your door. Who would you trust? Exactly. Real relationships aren't built on beautiful speeches. They're built on reliable actions. Here's another interesting pattern. Socially intelligent people don't become impressed easily. Not because they're negative, but because they've learned that first impressions can be misleading. Some people appear incredibly charming, others quiet or reserved. Time changes everything. Charm can disappear. Masks eventually slip, but consistent behavior tells the truth. That's why socially intelligent people are patient. They let time reveal who someone really is, and this habit protects them from manipulation. Because manipulation often sounds convincing, but it rarely stays consistent. One day someone treats you with kindness, the next day they ignore your boundaries, then they apologize, then they repeat the same behavior again. Many people only hear the apology. Socially intelligent people notice the pattern, and patterns are far more important than promises. This doesn't mean becoming suspicious of everyone. It means learning to trust reality over fantasy, to believe what people repeatedly do, not just what they repeatedly say. And perhaps that's why socially intelligent people often have fewer friends, but stronger friendships, because they choose quality over quantity. They invest their time in people whose actions match their words. Now here's where things become even more interesting, because the next sign isn't about watching other people. It's about something socially intelligent people do before they ever judge anyone else. A habit so rare that it quietly separates wisdom from ego. Sign number 3. You spend more time understanding than reacting. Imagine this. You're in the middle of a heated conversation. Someone says something that feels rude. The room goes quiet. Everyone waits for your reaction. Most people respond instantly. They defend themselves. They argue. They try to prove they're right. But socially intelligent people do something different. They pause, not because they don't have an answer, but because they know the first reaction isn't always the wisest one. That small pause can completely change the outcome of a conversation. Here's why. Emotions move fast. Understanding moves slowly. When someone hurts us, our brain wants to protect us immediately. It wants to fight back, to explain, to win. But socially intelligent people ask themselves a different question. What am I missing? Maybe that person had an exhausting day. Maybe they're carrying stress they haven't told anyone about. Maybe their words weren't meant the way they sounded. Or maybe they really were being disrespectful. The point is, socially intelligent people don't jump to conclusions before they have enough information, because they know assumptions destroy more relationships than facts ever do. Think about the strongest leaders you've met, the best teachers, the most respected mentors. They rarely make decisions in the heat of the moment. They listen, they observe, they ask questions. Only then do they respond. That's not weakness, that's emotional control. And emotional control is one of the highest forms of social intelligence. Here's something fascinating. The loudest person in the room often feels powerful, but the person who controls their emotions usually has the real power, because when you control your reactions, other people can't easily control you. Insults lose their power. Manipulation becomes easier to recognize. Arguments stop pulling you into unnecessary drama. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intentionally. And there's a huge difference. Reaction is automatic. Response is a choice. Socially intelligent people understand that every conversation is like looking at a painting. If you're standing just inches away, you'll only see random brushstrokes. But when you step back, the entire picture becomes clear. That's exactly what they do with people. They step back before making judgments. They look for context, patterns, motives, not just isolated moments. Ironically, this habit often makes them seem calm, mature, and trustworthy. People feel safe talking to them because they know they won't be judged after a single mistake. Instead, they'll be understood, and in today's world, that kind of patience is incredibly rare. But don't mistake patience for passivity. Socially intelligent people still set boundaries. They still walk away from toxic behavior. The difference is, their decisions are based on clarity, not temporary emotion. Now here's the surprising part. The next sign has almost nothing to do with conversations. In fact, it explains why many socially intelligent people actually enjoy being alone. Not because they dislike people, but because solitude gives them something that constant socializing never can. Next, sign number 4. You value meaningful solitude more than constant socializing. Here's a question most people never ask themselves. When you're finally alone, do you immediately reach for your phone, or do you actually enjoy the silence? For many people, being alone feels uncomfortable. The moment there's no one to talk to, no notifications, no background noise, they begin to feel restless. So they scroll, they text someone, they turn on the TV, anything to escape their own thoughts. But socially intelligent people often choose something different. They don't see solitude as loneliness. They see it as recovery, because every conversation, every interaction, every emotion they absorb throughout the day needs time to be processed. Think of your mind like a glass of water. Every social interaction adds another drop. A stressful meeting, a deep conversation, an awkward moment, a stranger's bad mood. By the end of the day, the glass is almost full. If you never give yourself time to empty that glass, eventually, even small problems begin to overflow. That's why socially intelligent people protect their alone time. Not because they hate people, but because they want to show up as the best version of themselves when they are with people. They understand something many never realize. You can't pour into other people's lives if your own emotional energy is running empty. Have you ever noticed how some people leave you feeling energized, while others leave you completely exhausted? That's because emotions are contagious, whether we realize it or not. We absorb the energy of the people around us. Socially intelligent people are highly aware of this. They don't isolate themselves forever. They simply become intentional about where they invest their time. They'd rather spend one meaningful evening with someone who inspires them than 10 nights surrounded by people who drain their peace. And here's the surprising part. Many people mistake this for being antisocial. They'll say, "Why don't you come out more? You've become so quiet. You never join us anymore." But what they don't understand is that choosing peace over constant noise isn't avoidance. It's wisdom. Because being surrounded by people doesn't always mean you're connected, and being alone doesn't always mean you're lonely. Some of the loneliest people are in crowded rooms, pretending to fit in, while some of the happiest people are sitting alone, reading, thinking, creating, or simply enjoying their own company. That's one of the greatest signs of social intelligence. You no longer depend on constant attention to feel valuable. You've learned that your worth isn't measured by how many conversations you have or how many people know your name. It's measured by the quality of your relationships and the peace you feel when no one else is around. When you become comfortable with your own company, something incredible happens. You stop chasing approval. You stop forcing friendships. You stop fearing silence, and people begin to notice a quiet confidence about you. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're no longer desperate to be accepted. And that confidence is magnetic. But we've saved the most surprising sign for last. It's the habit that almost everyone misunderstands. Many people think it's a flaw, when in reality, it may be the strongest indicator that your social intelligence is far higher than you ever imagined. Sign number 5. You care more about being understood than being liked. Here's a difficult question. If you had to choose, would you rather have 100 people like you or a handful of people truly understand you? Most people spend their lives chasing approval. They adjust their personality depending on who's in the room. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They agree with opinions they don't actually believe. They hide parts of themselves just to fit in. At first, it seems like the easier path. Everyone smiles at you. Everyone accepts you. But deep inside, you start feeling like a stranger to yourself. Socially intelligent people eventually realize something that changes everything. Being liked by everyone often means hiding who you really are. But being understood requires the courage to be authentic. And authenticity isn't always comfortable. Sometimes people won't agree with you. Sometimes they'll misunderstand your intentions. Sometimes they'll walk away. And that's okay, because socially intelligent people know that fake acceptance is more painful than honest rejection. Think about the strongest relationships in your life. They're probably not built on pretending. They're built on honesty, on difficult conversations, on trust that was earned over time. Those relationships don't exist because two people always agreed. They exist because two people were willing to understand each other. That's the difference. Approval is temporary. Understanding lasts. Here's another truth. Most people discover too late. The moment you stop trying to impress everyone, you become far more interesting. Why? Because confidence isn't about making everyone happy. It's about knowing who you are, even when not everyone approves. And strangely enough, that's when the right people begin to find you. The people who appreciate your honesty, your calmness, your curiosity, your depth. The people who don't need you to perform. Because they value the real you. Now let's look back at the 5 signs. If you prefer real conversations over meaningless small talk, if you trust actions more than words, if you seek understanding before reacting, if you value peaceful solitude over constant social noise, and if you'd rather be genuinely understood than simply liked, then you may have a level of social intelligence that most people never recognize. The world often celebrates the loudest voice, but history tells a different story. The people who change lives, build deep relationships, and earn lasting respect are often the ones who listen more than they speak. They observe before they judge, they think before they react, and they choose depth over attention. So if you've ever felt different because you don't enjoy shallow conversations, don't rush to change yourself. That difference may not be a weakness. It may be your greatest strength, because in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, the rarest person is the one who truly knows how to understand. And that's exactly what social intelligence is. If this video made you see yourself in a new way, leave a comment below with just one word: depth. I'd love to know how many people are quietly discovering that being different doesn't mean being broken. It might just mean seeing the world through a wiser lens. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more psychology and self-improvement content that helps you understand yourself and others on a deeper level. Until next time, stay curious, stay observant, and never underestimate the quiet power of truly understanding people.